Hello friends and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Minecraft, and welcome to the Minecraft home screen. I know what you're thinking, this doesn't look like our world. You're right, we're going to do something a little bit different today, so bear with me. Today, I'm going to walk you through how I created a data pack, because I think it would be really cool if our rotten flesh turned into leather, and we're going to walk through putting together a resource pack, because we've been using a resource pack for a little while in this world, and I haven't really shown you how I do that, although that one's much easier. So let's get started. Okay friends, so we're gonna walk through how I built this data pack for the YouTube world together. I was gonna actually build it with you, and I'm gonna be so honest, I actually just spent the last 3 hours trying to figure out where the typo was. It turns out there was a small naming scheme change that I wasn't aware of. So my idea of oh, I'll just grab my personal data pack and update it, I haven't updated it in a while, turned into a big old thing. But don't worry, we're here, we got it. I've got the pack built and it works. I just tested it. So let's get started on how we do this. So when you're building a data pack, it's actually a lot simpler than it looks. What you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna start with a file. So here is my file set. It's just, I'm calling it the YouTube data pack. And in here, you're going to wanna make a pack.mc meta file and a data folder. Now, I'm doing everything on Windows. You can do the same thing on Mac. But the big thing you're going to want to notice here is that this is a .mc meta file, not a .text file. When you open it up in your text editor, you're going to want to make sure, first of all, it's a plain text editor. You can't do this in Word. I'm sorry. You can't do this in Keynote or whatever the Mac equivalent is. I use Mac for work, but I don't actually use their editing suites, so I'm not really sure what the Word equivalent would be. Anyways, you want a plain text editor, which just means, no fancy quotes, no fancy fonts, things like that. I'm using Notepad++ here. Sublime Text is a really good one for Mac. If you're a dev or you do programming, any of your IDEs are probably fine. We're working in what's called JSON. JSON is a computer language. It's fancy. It's not that big a deal, I promise. So the first thing we're going to look at is our pack.mc meta file. This is what you want your MC meta file to look like. JSON looks really scary, but I promise you it's not. Basically, the things you're going to want to be worrying about is that all of your brackets have friends, and that all of your keys on this side of the colon have values. And that if you have more than one key and one value, see here we have a bunch of them, you want to separate them with a comma. Those are the things to know about JSON. The way to think about JSON is it's kind of like a whole bunch of boxes inside other boxes. See these open and closed brackets? These are just one box. Pack is just a fancy box with a label. This is a key. This whole thing would be the value, but this is just another box. This is just another key and another value, but another way to think about this is just the name of the box and the stuff in the box, right? Pretty simple. So in our pack.mc meta, we want to have a pack box, and it has to have curly brackets. And then in that box, you want to have a description. This is the description of your data pack, your pack format, your min format, and your max format. And I know what you're thinking, well, Amanda, but what are those formats? How would I know what they are? Super good question. This is just how the computer knows what version of Minecraft you're using. So we're going to be building this for 1.21.10, which is where the confusion came, and I'll explain that in a minute, which is 88.0. There is a big old graph on the wiki for Minecraft, the official forums and stuff, that shows you each pack format and its version. It does change, they increment that, and a lot of times if you've built your own data pack and say, with what we're doing, they don't make a lot of changes to Rotten Flesh. So we can be pretty sure this pack is going to be fine moving forward for at least most minor versions of Minecraft when they update. But our pack is still going to say it's outdated, and most of the time it's just because we need to come in here and update this. So this is all we need to know. And then the thing you need to watch for is when you hit save, I'm going to go ahead and hit save as, because I've already saved. When you come in here, your file name, you want to make sure it's .mcmeta. If it looks like mcmeta.txt, that is not going to work and your data pack is not going to work. If it looks like pack.txt, your file is not going to work. It is not going to work as a proper data pack at that point because it is looking for this MC meta extension. So we've got this all set up. We come over here. This is living right in here in our file, just all by itself. And now we need to create a data file. Now in our data file, we're gonna split this up by every change we want to make. Right now, because we're playing pretty much vanilla, the only change we want to make is rotten flesh to leather. I'm gonna go ahead and show you though on my personal this is all of the different things that I have on my personal data pack. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, this pack is a little outdated, so some of these things in here aren't necessary anymore. But this is where the idea came from, because on my personal world, I do convert my rotten flesh to leather. And as you can see, I have all of my different recipes split up. But for our YouTube data pack, all we need is rotten flesh to leather. So let's go ahead and click in here. This is the thing that got me. This is the thing I spent the last 3 hours trying to debug because I missed a single line in the wiki. In older versions of data packs, this file is called recipes. And so my data pack was looking for the recipe file. I had recipes and it was getting very, very confused. So you just want to make sure in your data pack you have data, the name of the thing you want, and recipe. Now there are other things you could do if you want to get really fancy. There's world gen, there's loot tables, you can add custom functions on certain things. These are all things that are beyond the scope of this very basic tutorial because I'm only talking about what we're doing with our YouTube world. I have done some fun things with other options in data packs, and I highly suggest that if you enjoy building this data pack out with me, you go and you research those things, because honestly, I say it all the time, programming is a gateway drug. The minute you start messing around with something little on your computer, then it turns into wanting to try something else, then you download Python, then you're working on Java, and suddenly you have a whole career and you don't know what happened, and you spent 4 years in school studying something that you didn't even know existed, right? Highly suggest you mess around with this. It's really fun, and to be honest with you, it's very low stakes, because worst case scenario, if your data pack doesn't work, you just don't use it. Anywho's and ways. So we go into recipes. We have rottenleather.json. This is what this looks like, and it is just a recipe file. Now, again, this is another place, first of all, where you're going to want to be paying attention to your file extension, right? You want to make sure it's JSON and not .txt. The game will not be able to find it if it's .txt. .json is just telling it it's in a JSON format, right? So we once again have our curly brackets, and we have our boxes with our stuff in our boxes. Boxes, stuff in our boxes. And look, this one has a box in a box. We have our keys and our values. What is the type? Well, we want to make a smelting recipe. What is our ingredient? Well, we want to smelt rotten flesh. Our result? Well, we know we want it to come up with the ID of leather. So it's going to produce leather. Experience, I just set it to the default value of 1. I'm not going to be super honest with you. I don't know what this value means in game beyond it's going to give us some level of experience. And the cooking time, I just have as the default 200, which is like 10-ish seconds. It's like 200 ticks or something like that. If you don't set this, this will default to 200. So I just left it at 200, but I put it in here because if we decide it's taking too long or it feels like it's too short, we can go ahead and adjust as needed. Again, very, very simple. The things to remember is all of your little quotes need buddies, all of your little curly brackets need buddies. And if you have a list, see how these are all on the same indent level? This is a list. Make sure they're separated by commas and you'll be good to go. And here's the deal, guys. If you get confused and get stuck, there are so many resources online, and honestly, most of the time, devs really excited to help out other devs. So if you go on looking like on Stack Overflow for help, you'll probably find it. There's a ton of resources on Reddit about how to make data packs. Strongly, strongly, strongly advise you try it yourself. I think it's really, really fun. So these are our files that we're looking at. Next, you're going to want to put it in game. Okay, so now that we have all of our fancy data set up and we have our MC meta file, we're going to go ahead and select both, and we need to zip them up. We're going to zip them into what's called a zip archive. Some computers come with programs already on them to zip things together. Some you have to download yourself. Depends on the OS. For me, I had to download something extra. I downloaded a program called 7-Zip. There's also WinZip and a couple other ones. Just do your research. Find one that you like, that works for you, works for your price point, works with your ethics. If you're going to go ahead and do open source, I think open source projects are amazing. I believe 7-Zip, at least to my knowledge at the time I downloaded it, was open source. So for me, this looks like right click, 7-Zip, and add to YouTube datapack.zip. Now we have this fancy zip folder, you can tell because it's got a Z on it, and this is what we will drag into our game. Just this part. This is what the game is looking for. It is looking for a zip archive. Okay, so there are 2 different ways to put a data pack into your world. If you're making a new world, you do it one way, and if you already have a world, you add it another way. I'm going to show you both. So if we go into our single player world and our test world, if we select it, we're going to go to edit, and we're going to open our worlds folder. In our worlds folder, we're going to go ahead and click data packs, And this is where we would drag our data pack in. As you can see, I already have mine in here because I've been fighting with it for the last 3 hours. So I'm not going to pull another one in because it'll be weird and it'll say it can't copy because you can't have 2 of the exact same. But you would just click and drag yours in here. If we were to create a new world, we would just go to more, data packs, and we could actually just drag our pack in here, or we can open our packs folder just like we did before. Both of those are an option. If you are dragging a data pack into an existing world, it is possible that you will need to reload the game. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not really sure what the game decides requires a reload, but sometimes you might have to reload the game, so just keep that in mind. Okay, and here we are in our test world that I created just to sort of prove it. As you can see, rotten flesh is now smelting into leather. I'm very excited about this. I think this is going to be super great for our gameplay. Okay, so for the second part of this video, I wanted to show you how I use vanilla tweaks to just make simple resource packs. This is something we've been using on the world for a while, but I've never really explained it. It's really, really simple. To me, it is the easiest way to make a very lightweight resource pack. Obviously, there are bigger resource packs you can download that are more, they change all kinds of things. They can change the texture of different things. They can completely modify your world all over the place. And visually, but I like just the very simple tweaks that we have in our mostly vanilla playthrough. So this is what their page looks like for resource packs, and there's just a million things, including versions you can pick, but a million things you can change in here. So for example, I often select ashless campfires, which shows up in your pack selector over here. I do like the warm glow. Sometimes we add it, sometimes we don't. Let's see here. We also tend to add bushy leaves. We have added wavy leaves in the past. I think I'm going to leave them off right now. We have added wavy water in the past. I think I'm going to leave it off for now. We'll make this one very lightweight. There's a million of them, short grass, tall grass. I do usually do fancy sunflowers, and if we come down to variation, my other favorite one, sunflower-wise, is randomly rotated. I recognize that's not totally accurate because sunflowers follow the sun, but in Minecraft, it just makes it more fun to see them like ruled all the way around. There's lots of different ones like modified and variated grass. You can see here that when you scroll over them, the resource pack selector tends to show you, to the best of its abilities, what's changed. Here it's showing you the dirt, things like that. And there are so many options. We could turn thunder down, consumables down, no cave noises. There are things like unobtrusive snow, which is a really nice one if you live in a snowy environment, smaller utilities. These are all things that you can add pretty simply. They'll give you warnings if something is going to maybe conflict or you need to not have a certain mod or something in there. But this is the site I use, and it has all of these different options. So over here in our resource pack selector, you can see we have our aesthetics, our terrain modifications, and our variants. Now, it's as simple as hitting download and waiting for it to download. Okay, so your download is going to end up wherever your downloads normally end up. If you have a downloads folder, most people on Windows do, most people on Mac do. Your mileage may vary. You're just going to find it in there, and most of the time it's going to be named something like vanilla tweaks and then a long number. That's the download you're looking for. How you get it in game is once you're in your world. Here we are in our YouTube world. We're over by the barn, which I reckon is kind of silly because we're not going to probably see a lot of visual changes when we put our vanilla tweaks in. But what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and go options. You're going to go ahead and go to resource packs. Ignore the millions of them that I have in here. And you're going to see that we don't actually have the one we just opened in there. That's totally fine. What we're going to do is we're going to open our packs folder, and it's going to open, and you're going to see, once again, I have about 1 million in here. Ignore that. And we're going to grab the new one out of our downloads file, and we're going to drag it in here. As you can see, the new one is 207901. So if we click over here, clearly we have one installed already because this is our YouTube world. We have 61, 83, 29. Again, not that you usually are going to have to worry about this because you're not going to be like me and have about 1 billion versions. But we're going to go ahead and pull that one out, and we're going to put our new one in. There it is. We're just going to hit the arrow. Now our new one is all set up. We're going to go ahead and close it. It's going to do a cheeky little reload. And just like that, you can see we still have our fluffy leaves. Our grass isn't moving, so we don't have the wavy stuff on right now because we didn't click it. Our water isn't moving because we didn't select that. And if I had sunflowers around here, you would see that they were rotated. And if it was nighttime, you would see that these have a nice warm glow. But that's as simple as that. That's how I get my resource packs in there. I just I cheat and use a website. Vanilla Tweaks is a great starting point, and you can be very explicit about what you want changed about your world. And I think it's really nice for a world like this, where we are predominantly vanilla, but just with fluffy leaves. And don't the fluffy leaves make all the difference in the world? I think they do. Alright guys, we're back on the home screen because that's all I really wanted to show you today was how I was building the data pack and how I get my resource packs so that there's nothing but transparency about what we're doing in the world. Because I call my world a vanilla world, but to be honest with you, with the resource pack and the data pack, it's no longer truly vanilla. But I wanted to show you that I promise I'm not putting sneaky things in. I'm not upping loot tables or anything like that with the data pack. Although I'm not gonna lie, I'm tempted to with those wither skulls because I can't seem to get a single one. Very confused about that. Anywho's and ways, now that we're all on the same page with what we're doing, next step, I think we'll be doing the review, and then I might be taking a week or so off for the holidays, and then we'll be right back to it, because now we can turn all of our rotten flesh into leather. I'm so excited, and we have a fancy new resource pack to play with that we just built together. I'm very excited about that too. But anyways, guys, I hope you're having a good day and you're feeling loved, and if you're not feeling loved, please know that I love you. I'm glad you exist. I'm glad you're here hanging out. You make the world a better place just by being you, and I'll see you next time we hang out. Okay, love you, bye! Mwah.